The 49ers just got great news ahead of the NFL draft, including a scenario that could play out very, very well for the 49ers in the first 2 rounds at the suggestion of a guy whose opinion I very much respect when it comes to anything in the trenches. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content, but Brian Baldinger believes in James Pierce Jr. We're going to listen to what he said in like 10 seconds here, but stick around even if you've already heard this, because we are going to look into the likelihood of the 49ers actually charting the plane on Baldy's path. Here's what Baldy had to say.
I think the Niners should consider James Pierce Jr. with the 11th pick. I mean, he's 6'5" and a quarter. He's 245 pounds. He ran a blistering 4.47 at the Indianapolis Combine. And when you watch him, he's got speed off the edge. All right. Then he's got suddenness, though, too. He can make you miss in space. He can stand up. He can go in a 4-point stance. But the thing that he has, he can consistently collapse a pocket. Like his speed to power, where he takes guys like Caden Proctor, that weigh 100 pounds more than him at Alabama, and walk them right back into the quarterback's lap. I think the 49ers have to get faster and more athletic on defense. And James Pierce Jr. with his speed and size gives you size and speed and suddenness off the edge.
Okay, so there's Baldy's take on James Pierce Jr. at pick 11, first round pick in the 2025 NFL draft for the San Francisco 49ers. Baldy pointing out a couple things here, and then we're going to get into, like, is this actually a realistic scenario, and how does this play out if the 49ers go edge at 11 and all that kind of stuff in this video. But let's start with this. Here's what Baldy points out. First, you got a 6'5", 245-pound dude that's running a 4.4 40. So that's a good start, right? Elite speed and suddenness can make you miss in space. He can be a stand-up guy. He can go in a 4-point stance. He can consistently collapse a pocket with incredible speed to power. Hard to not be excited about this prospect. And the only thing that I guess you're missing there after all of that exciting stuff is this guy of so much promise going to be available at pick 11? Now, let's take a look at that, because the vast majority of players that are going earlier in the draft are on this list right here. You can see it on the screen. Obviously, you've got the Cam Wards, the Abdul Carters, you got the Travis Hunters, the Shedeur Sanders, all that kind of stuff, okay? The Mason Grahams, of course, another important defensive line guy that could be going really early, the Jalen Walkers, okay? So there you go. You got the guys there. And then the only other one that I didn't mention would be the Will Johnsons. A lot of people have the 49ers picking Will Johnson. Well, Brian Baldinger says, no, go James Pierce Jr. And there's a lot to like about James Pierce Jr. and the fit that he is for the 49ers, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well in a minute. But if you look on this list, you're not going to see James Pierce Jr.'s name, and that's because he's not projected to go in the top 11 picks. He's just not expected. No one's expecting him to go at that time. However, anybody you ask, he's going in the first round. So this is a first-round talent that the 49ers, if they pick up, let's say, continues to play to that narrative that the 49ers tend to overdraft players, whatever. At pick 11, I don't care. If you get a solid first-round talent and he's your guy and he's an impact player and he immediately makes it on the field and makes a big difference, I couldn't care less if it was pick 11 or pick 15 or pick 19. It doesn't matter, because at that point, you've got your pick unless, and this is what people said about Ricky Pearsall there, could the 49ers last year have kind of traded back a little bit and still got their guy? That's the unless. And we'll never, ever know the alternate universe in which Ricky Pearsall is still on the board, 10 picks later. And could there have been a party interested in taking the 49ers pick? Those are all fair questions. Those are all things you can muse about as much as you'd like. For me, I'm all about go and get your guy. And if this is your guy, and it makes sense, he fits the scheme, we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. But if this is your guy, go and get him. That's how I feel, okay? Now, the vast majority of James Pierce Jr. snaps come out wide, and his quickness off the line, plus the ability to beat guys in space, makes him, I think, a really good scheme fit for a wide 9 Robert Saleh defensive line to fit into Chris Kosirik's planning, how he's scheming everything up. Everything just makes sense to me. But let's look at how PFF broke this guy down as well, because that's also fair. They rank him at 23 overall, and that's a big board draft ranking, big board ranking. So that's not necessarily indicative of when he'll get drafted. Obviously, team needs and stuff like that come ahead of those rankings, but basically saying he's the 23rd best available player right now in terms of the NFL draft. Saying Pierce is the kind of athlete with the production and disruption scores you do not let out of the first round. His twitchy movements show difference-making NFL traits that can be situational at worst and all-pro at best. They did use the phrase all-pro, always a dangerous thing to say about a draft prospect, but they said it. They went out there and they made the claim in their big draft guide. I forget what they call it. Some people call it the beast, right? That's what The Athletic calls it. But whatever, their big draft guide or whatever, they said very twitchy player with an explosive first step, decent speed to power punch given his low weight, good anticipation for snap count appropriate pre-snap shifts, knows how to attack the half man consistently, excellent pursuit, speed to the ball carrier. Now, this is not a perfect comp when I say this, okay? I'm about to say something, and I want you to just hear me say ahead of time, because I don't want you to comment this guy's not Von Miller. They're not the same player, but something Von Miller played a little bit with, and so did, while we're thinking about great athletes, LeBron James played with it as well, was the weight. And this guy's a little bit on the lighter side for 6'5". He's a thinner dude, and so there are some downsides there, but I think that fits better for a wide nine format where speed is so important, acceleration is so important. And because he's had so much power, he doesn't necessarily need to add a whole lot more weight there. So, I like the size. I like the pace. I'm a fan of who this guy could be for the 49ers. And if this is the guy, there's a very good opportunity there for the 49ers to have both edges locked down for the first time in a very long time. So there's excitement there. If you take an edge, however, what are you left with at defensive tackle? Assuming that's another position the 49ers desperately need to handle early in the draft. That's my assumption. That's my belief that the 49ers need to handle the defensive line, both an edge player and at least one tackle early on in the draft. That's my personal opinion. What are you left with if you go edge at 11 instead of tackle? Well, here's how this plays out. I don't know why that red circle's there, and I'll fix it later. But the 49ers hosted Darius Alexander for a 30 visit recently, as in I think I saw this today, if I remember correctly. And I think that this actually continues to paint a picture that the 49ers have been painting for a little while now with their top 30 visits about why this actually could work out for the 49ers. If you look at the players that the 49ers have shown top 30 interest in. I actually wrote it down, so let me look here. Okay, defensive tackles the 49ers have had over for T. Walter Nolan, Omar Norman-Lott, TJ Sanders, Tyleik Williams, and now Darius Alexander. What do you notice about the positioning of those tackles? Those tackles are positioned to be late first round, second round guys. That's who these guys are. These are the guys the 49ers have been bringing in. So the 49ers are showing a lot of interest in guys expected to be reachable in the second round. They also, by the way, although maybe not a top 30 visit, Derek Harmon's another guy they're interested in. Then Walter Nolan, Tyleik Williams, Darius Alexander, skip a spot, TJ Sanders, Omar Norman-Lott. So these are guys the 49ers are interested in, and these are not guys most of them are not going in the first round. So where does that leave the 49ers? Where does that leave the 49ers if they go edge in the first round, which is still my gut. It's still my gut. I'm not going to be completely devastated if they go tackle. If Mason Graham is still available at pick 11 for some reason, if that just happened somehow, who knows what scenario that could be in, but crazier things have happened in the draft, then I would not be at all disappointed when the 49ers went tackle instead of edge, right? But my gut, for whatever reason, does feel like edge edge is the guy is the position to go after just because of how freak athletes these guys are. And tackles are also really tricky, really rare good finds to get, but there's something special about edge players and what they bring to your team. And especially with the 49ers format, they desperately need both positions filled, heavily need both positions filled with guys who can actually stop the run. So the way this all plays out for the 49ers, should they follow Baldy's recommendation, I think is great news. I think this could work out really well, and I like Baldy's thinking here. James Pierce Jr. was showing up really early on in the mocks and then kind of disappeared for a while. But his stock is still pretty high, maybe not as high as some of these other guys, but I like the idea. I like it. Let me know in the comments if you like the idea. Of course, we are now... Oh, relative athletic score. Yeah, I forgot to talk about this. So a lot of people are kind of like, is he a defensive end? Is he a defensive tackle? Talking about Darius Alexander. But most people agree that he'll come into the league more as a tackle. And his relative athletic score of 9.17 is not too shabby. So there you go. I mean, that's Darius Alexander for you. I think it's great the 49ers are continuing to bring these guys in. You're 10 days away from the 2025 NFL draft, which is so exciting. I cannot wait. It's a week from Thursday now. It's close enough where I can say it's a week from. That always feels really good, and I cannot wait to see what the 49ers do. I can't wait to see what happens. Picks 2 through 10 are going to be absolutely fascinating. To see how the New Orleans handle this situation with Derek Carr is going to be fascinating. A week before the draft, basically. So this is all like incredibly interesting stuff that's happening. Stick around for more content like this. Subscribe if you don't want to miss out on new videos come out. Appreciate you guys and hope that you had a great start to your week.